Welcome to Vin and Mike, episode 86. Happy Wednesday, Mike.
Happy Wednesday, Vin. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. You know,
Good.
A lot going on before we dive into it, because I know it's going to be a long conversation. Just going to say, KKFI, Kansas City, how are you guys doing out there?
KC.
Glad to have you. The website, vinandmikepodcast.com. Go to the store, buy a shirt, buy a onesie, buy some stickers, whatever you need to do. But everything that's purchased there, we donate to a charity every month. So appreciate everybody's support with that. With all that being said, week 1 in the NFL is a wrap. We know what we're going to start and talk about. And I'll let you start it off. Go ahead.
Thank you for easing into it.
I didn't go crazy, right?
I know.
But probably we're gonna have a very good discussion today. I would expect that.
So I had a lot last couple days to really digest this, and no matter who you are, whether you're a Jet fan, not a Jet fan, into football, not into football, you see something like that and it really hits you. Because going into this season, the quarterback was the missing piece to a lot of success, to making the playoffs, to a potential Super Bowl run. So you're watching this, and I'm watching this at my neighbor's, and he goes down. And my initial reaction, honestly, thought it was minor. I thought he was kind of just get something taped, maybe at the worst come back after halftime. And you find out that it's season ending. So what do you take from that? The Jets somehow stood in that game. Gibson at the end was unreal. His story on Hard Knocks, a whole other story with that, but just really cool. But what do we have, Vinny? Strong core. Defense keeps you in games. Offense. Look at Breece Hall, who came back from an injury, what he accomplished. Garrett Wilson, that unbelievable catch. And that leaves us with Zach Wilson. And some people laugh and they say, you're back to square one. Well, as a Jet fan, and if you're a true Jet fan, you got to support Zach Wilson. And I'm going to support him for the next couple games, at least. And here's what I'll say about this. No one in their right mind thought that Zach Wilson would replace Aaron Rodgers after 5 plays. So all the practices revolved around Aaron Rodgers and those snap counts. That's what that offense was used to. And then you're going in to face a Dallas team that is so hyped up after their blowout of the Giants, right? Not an easy place to play. But he is our quarterback right now. And I think with the right protection, if the offensive line steps it up, and whatever mentorship that Aaron Rodgers had for him and the maturity, hopefully that will lead to success. I'm not going to count him out yet. And any Jet fan that is right away saying, oh, we're losers, we're never going to win. Again, I don't think you're a true Jet fan. I think you have to look at this holistically and say, okay, if they get destroyed against Dallas, we said, Vinny, the first 6 games are so important, right?
Yep.
And if you find yourself the next 2 or 3 games getting blown out, passes are not accurate, he's dropping back so much, he's getting sacked all the time, he's just not in it, then you make an adjustment and you say, what veteran quarterbacks are out there that could help our team get to the playoffs and even further, right? So for right now, I think Robert Saleh, he was interviewed and said, Zach is our man. I stand behind him, and I agree with that. And I think right now we have to just put it in his hands, see what happens against Dallas the next couple of games, and then you evaluate. So I'm still in shock over it. It's hard to believe, but I think the difference, we still won that game, and that's what you have to look back at. We won. We won with perseverance. They did not give up. There's a lot of bright spots on this team. And you look at other teams that have been successful. Let's say when Jimmy Garoppolo was in San Francisco, right? I'm not going to downgrade Jimmy Garoppolo, but I wouldn't consider him an elite quarterback, right? But he had a strong team around him. And Zach Wilson has a strong team around him. So you never know what's going to happen. Stranger things has happened. I have to compliment. I laughed because I was talking to our friend Evan right before the show, and he goes, "What if somehow Zach Wilson does exceed expectations, and he just gets better every game?" And then they say at the end of the year, "You know what? This is the guy that we want." I mean, nothing's. It sounds a little bit outrageous, but you just got to take it one game at a time. So I really like what I saw on the defensive end. I thought the offense looked good. I thought the offensive line looked a little shaky, as we discussed on previous shows, but we got a huge win, and the way that we won that game was amazing. I'll never forget it as long as I live, that first game. Just the emotional roller coaster that was going by. But and that's where I stand.
Yeah. I get it. I'm getting from you. I hear you. Yeah.
You are?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I don't even hear it, so yeah.
I don't know. Do you have YouTube on or something?
I don't. But it's weird because I'm not getting it on this end at all.
All right. That's it. It's gone. Whatever you did, it's gone.
Oh.
Okay. You know, I've been thinking about it, and you can't jump to any conclusions, right? Like you gotta see what happens. But I don't know. I just don't know if they're gonna see any immediate changes with Zach Wilson. I don't know if he had enough time with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if he had enough time, in the locker room. I'm not sure how these other players feel about him. There was a lot of dissension there. Garrett Wilson was wearing the Mike White T-shirt. It's like all that stuff that went on last year, and then bringing in Rodgers, and what did Zach Wilson learn over the last 4 months, right? I'm not sure, right? But again, we have to watch him play before we make any decisions. What I saw him play on Monday night, they simplified things. You knew that they weren't going to let him throw the ball downfield every play. You knew all that stuff wasn't going to happen. And I thought he was successful enough in where he didn't make a lot of mistakes. He made the one really bad interception. But all in all, he didn't make a lot of bad mistakes. He made some good throws. He got the ball to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's a superstar. You could just see it. A phenomenal touchdown catch. I like the Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook mix. I think that's going to be a very, very big thing for the Jets the rest of the season. That dual head monster, right? As they would say, you're going to have to use that. And the defense was good. Whitehead had 3 interceptions. It seemed like he was just everywhere when Josh Allen was trying to make a pass. So all that stuff looked good. Jermaine Johnson looked good, right? Young guy, pass rushing. Williams is unbelievable. We know all that stuff, right? So
I just want to say one thing. You make a very good point, because I think he did what he needed to do, right? Zach Wilson, limited mistakes, very conservative play. But something that you said made me spark something where when you initially see something like that happen, right? Your first instinct is, oh my, we're going back to square one. But this may be a very different Zach Wilson from last year.
We don't know.
He didn't have that kind of mentorship last year. Aaron Rodgers was hopefully a really good influence. The thing that destroyed Zach Wilson last year was those press conferences where he didn't take accountability. And now, Vinny, he's got a second chance. Okay. And how many people could say that, right?
Absolutely.
So
I'm going to tell you, a big thing that he didn't have last year was Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. He did not have that last year. They were relying on Michael Carter and some other guys, right? They didn't have that 1-2 punch. I think that's going to be a very, very big thing. Becton is back. He looked really in great shape when he was out there. He looked good. Those are the solid pieces that when you look at this team, Alan Lazard, right, Randall Cobb, it's like the little pieces that they didn't have last year around Zach are now there. What kind of Zach Wilson comes forward here? Do you have confidence that he's going to continue, to do it? Me, as a non-Jet fan, I have zero confidence that he's going to succeed. I just don't think he's the right guy to play quarterback in the NFL. I could be 100% wrong. I think they should look at, like I think I told you, they should look at, where Kirk Cousins is going to be, where Minnesota is going to be as time goes on, right? That's a guy you could bring in, fill a gap need. I don't like a lot of the veterans that are out there on the block, Carson Wentz and Joe Flacco. I mean, they don't excite me. The only way I think the Jet fan, and again, this is if Zach is bad, and if I think, if I'm right, and this is what happens, the only thing that's going to really excite the Jet fan or make you think you're going to have a shot is to trade for a Matt Stafford, to trade for Kirk Cousins, One of the good points that someone made was the Jets did a lot of homework in the offseason on quarterbacks, right? They looked at Aaron Rodgers, they looked at Derek Carr, they looked at Matt Stafford, they looked at Jameis Winston. You could go down the whole list, right? They essentially looked at every quarterback. So they already know what's out there, who's out there, what their abilities are, what it's going to take, maybe in a trade for us to get this person, or who we're going to sign as a free agent. So I think there's a game plan in place there, and Robert Salah is going to say the right things. That's his quarterback, of course.
What is he going to say? That's the other thing. I was telling Matt about this. What is he going to say? I don't believe in our quarterback. We're going to look. You can't say that. But like I said, he's on a very short leash right now.
I think so,
because I think it's really 2 to 3 games.
I think it's shorter.
You think it's one game?
I think it's game to game. This Dallas game is tough, right? It's even if Aaron Rodgers is playing, in this game at Dallas and the way they looked against the Giants, it's a tough game. They have a big time defense. Their pass rush looked fantastic. Again, I don't know if the Giants were that bad or they were that good.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. It's week 1. It's hard to evaluate, teams after week 1. So, but the way they looked and the way the 49ers looked, right, they looked like the 2 best teams in football, and then everybody else, was a little lower than them, right? But ultimately, I don't know if that was, the real Dallas Cowboys. I don't know yet. But either way, you're going into Dallas, their opening home game on the season, right? Their first home game. It's a tough game. They got a nice little offense they're running this year, a little bit different, more ball control, not letting Dak, make a lot of mistakes like in the past, really trying to get Tony Pollard more involved in that kind of momentum and moving in that kind of direction. But ultimately, it's a tough game for Zach Wilson. And you got to just see what kind of guy is going to show up. Is it going to be a guy that doesn't make those big mistakes in the crunch time? How good is the offensive line going to be in protecting him? Is Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook going to be able to rush for 150, 200 yards combined, right? Like, those are the things that you need to see it all happen. And you go, if for some reason you go to 2-0, you live another week with Zach Wilson. I don't touch him if he's bad and you win. Because he couldn't be that bad and win, right? Last year he was so bad they couldn't win even with good defense. Yeah. So if he's a little bit better, just a little bit, like just throwing that touchdown to Garrett Wilson on Monday night, to me was a little bit better than he was all last season. He couldn't do that last year. Right, even so we'll see. Maybe Nathaniel Hackett's offense.
And he had some big third down plays. He did.
I thought he made some good throws. I thought he made some really good throws to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had a good game,
Yeah.
But Garrett Wilson, like I said, is a star kind of receiver. He he's up there with all those guys. He's up there with all those guys. You can just see it. It's just got that ability, to get open, that the hands, that catch. I mean, I watched it like 5 times, the catch in the end zone, because I couldn't tell if he just like grabbed it with his left hand and just like pulled it, but he actually tipped it to himself.
He tipped it to himself up, and then
it was even more incredible than just grabbing it with like one hand and pushing it like on himself. He actually tipped it to himself. So that's the stuff I look at, And I look at this Dallas game, and like I said, I think this was a tough game with Aaron Rodgers. Right?
Yeah, listen.
Those 6 games I looked at, I said, if you come out 3-3,
right,
I'm going to be really happy.
Here's, like I said, if they're competitive with Dallas, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
None. Of course, I want them to win. I want them to win every game.
Of course.
I'm talking they get blown out. It's embarrassing, like the Patriots game last year, right? Something like
that. They're gonna move them right away. I'm telling you, they're not gonna wait, because they're still built to run. They are. They're built to make a run. And Woody Johnson said it after last season. We need to upgrade our quarterback. They did. Now the franchise quarterback, is out for the year. Hopefully his career resumes and he gets another opportunity. It's just a very, very hard injury to come back from. But besides that, you got the guy right now that you drafted number 2 overall a few years back, and hopefully the mental portion of it, that the ability to connect with teammates, the getting into practice early, right?
Yep.
Doing all the little things that you need to do, and hopefully watching Aaron Rodgers and how he prepared. That's what Zach Wilson takes into every week here, and it's a different guy. And like I said, I don't see it. Again, I could be.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you for that opinion.
I can't see it.
For what you see, I think the thing that bothers me with him is in that game, he rushes back so much.
Yeah,
like he keeps running back. Just throw it away, stuff like that. Because
he's got to get used to that a little bit, right? I mean, he didn't get sacked back there.
No, but I'm saying though, you do that against a Dallas team.
Well, you don't want to get sacked, right?
No.
You run 30 yards back and get sacked. I mean, that's a whole different story.
Right, and he was close. So, but like I said, first game, a lot of variance. Practice will be all about the snap counts and focusing on him and the play calling, and Hackett can really work with him specifically, and we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's what you got right now. I've seen multiple people tweeting or Xing, whatever you call it now. I don't even know what you call it, about different scenarios, different quarterbacks, making trades, Tom Brady unretiring, like all this crazy stuff that, that's not going to happen, right? The stuff that's going to happen is Zach Wilson's playing. He's playing Dallas, and you hope that he's a game manager, and Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook have fantastic games, and Garrett Wilson is going to have to catch the ball over the top. I expect Dallas to really try to load the box this week, force the ball out of Breece Hall and Cook's hands, force Zach Wilson to make a big pass over the top, and I think that's where he's going to need to be successful. He's going to have to make that completion. If he doesn't make that completion, the game's going to be very long, and you're going to be very aggravated by halftime. And you know how New York is, and the thin ice this guy already is on. He won't make it. He won't make it.
Yeah, they're not. Woody Johnson is not going to play around.
No,
this is a probation period of a game or two, and to see what the trajectory is.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And the fan base, you're part of the fan base, so you know how crazy it all is. You know how these people are when any lack of success, right? The booing happens very quickly in New York. Aaron Judge gets booed, Derek Jeter gets booed. Very easy for Zach Wilson to get booed.
But what I'm saying is the people who are outright knocking it right away, and I understand the frustrations. I do.
Jet fans shouldn't be knocking it. I can knock it because I can make fun of you and text you your season's over and all this stuff.
Oh yeah, can I tell the audience what he did? Yeah, I want to tell him real quick. So he really knows. He's like a brother. He really knows like how to just. And I obviously that happens. The first text message I get, yeah, he's laughing because he knows season's over. Not oh, this is awful. Like, man, But then there's people. I gotta laugh. People who are like, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? How do you think I feel?
I feel terrible for the guy.
Like, what am I gonna say? Oh yeah, I feel great that this guy who had such a good attitude come into this team, and that's the thing that kills me.
Yeah.
Let's take him and talk about him for a second. 18 years in Green Bay, wants to try something different. Everyone, again, Jets fan or not Jets fan, looked at him and said, your attitude's been fantastic. He was going to all the games. He was gelling with the players. Chemistry was great. He wanted this. So my heart goes out to him.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about him a lot in his thought process too.
He's still going through a lot of it. He hasn't scheduled the surgery yet. There's a lot of mental aspect to it. And I seen it 50-50 even with Packers fans. 50% or can't stand the guy anymore and said he deserved it. He was always holding us hostage and all this stuff. And then the other 50%, feel bad that this guy got hurt, and they wish him the best. So it's a combination out there. But I think as a football fan and seeing it, you have to feel for Aaron Rodgers. You don't want to see guys get hurt and lose their seasons like that. All the years that I've been a Raiders fan and all the different rivalries, I never want to see a guy get injured and not be able to play. I'd rather see them stay healthy and beat them on the field. Like,
right, you want to beat the best.
Yeah, I want to beat Pat Mahomes when Pat Mahomes is on the field. I don't want Pat Mahomes to be hurt and that's great for us. I don't look at it like that. I just don't look at it like that. I want to beat these guys in civilized sports, right? It's not UFC meets the NFL. Right, you don't go out and beat up a guy and then you play football after.
Let me ask you. Going back to the actual game.
Yeah.
When the Jets got it into overtime.
Yeah.
So it was really the Bills that got over. They hit that. Oh, when they hit the upright, I'm like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But did you think the Jets were going to win at that moment? Did you think the Jets had a chance to win?
I did. I didn't think the coin toss. I was like, all right, but I also knew the Jets would play different defense than they did down the stretch. I'll be honest. I didn't like the way they played defense on that final drive. I didn't like the timeout with 2 seconds left on the play clock.
I thought they played too conservative that last drive.
Buffalo was about to run into delay a game, and they called the timeout out. Like, I didn't get that. Yeah, they played a little too much prevent. So I felt that they would play a little better defense. I didn't think they would. I think it was 3-and-out to start the overtime against. I think it was 3-and-out. Got him the punt. I didn't expect. I honestly didn't expect Buffalo not to go that quickly. I thought Josh Allen would turn it around and lead them down the field. Not that he would have scored a touchdown there, but at least the field goal and put pressure back on the Jets. The punt return was unbelievable. It was just an incredible.
And look at that story with him, an undrafted player.
Yeah.
And then listen, it was on Hard Knocks, and he went in. They told him he got the role, and he was just so happy. And then that's a feel-good story right there. Take something out of that. I love the way he was returned. The whole game he had good returns.
Was that the kid that they faked out that they originally were like he was going to get cut, and then they
they messed around. It's a good story.
Yeah, that was nice. And you're right. He was always making a play. He was one step away from a big play, it seemed like all game. And he finally got it. And, down the sideline there, game over. Even if he gets tackled there, the game's over at that point, right? I mean, all you need is a field goal because Buffalo already had their one possession.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, Zerline and Bass for Buffalo and that weather and the rain and all that, they made a lot of field goals, Both kickers came through. Zerline was very good for the Jets in that game. Important. He made a lot of important kicks there. Even the extra point, when they score with Wilson, if you remember, I think they got a delay of game penalty or something, and they pushed him back further, and he had to make the extra point a little further, which he ended up making easily anyway.
I know.
So I thought that was an important part because, people forget how important sometimes kickers are in games, right? You feel like an early missed field goal that could come back and haunt you later in a game. And like things like that. So I thought that was an important part. Like I said, Whitehead, I think they said he hasn't had 3 interceptions in a single season. And he had 3 in the first game. I mean, I
think the last time that happened for the Jets, I think it was 2005 or something.
Yeah, he was all over the place. I thought Sauce Gardner was terrible. I mean, that's something that people haven't talked about. I thought Diggs dominated him. I think he needs to get better. I don't know what was going on with him.
He had an off game for sure.
He was bad. And again, it's missed because of the Rodgers injury and everything that going around it. But Diggs had a very big game. Diggs had 10 or 11 catches in that game. So I want to see him. He's going to have to be better against CeeDee Lamb, But he plays the old traditional Richard Sherman role, right? He plays, I cover the left side of the field, and that's what I do. And again, that's the way the defense is set up, and that's the old traditional Seattle way of playing, which I think Salah has some of those connections there. I think that's why they played that way in San Francisco. So, but you just got to be better.
Okay,
you got to see him be better. And again, no one's going to care because all they care about right now is Zach Wilson. I'm telling you, you're going to see all this stuff go on in this Jet game. And you can write it down. You can write down, there's a missed tackle, a missed coverage, a missed kick, a missed punt, a fumble, or this or that. And then ultimately, all that you just wrote down, no one's going to say anything. All they're going to say is Zach Wilson was 10 for 14, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and he managed everything beautifully. That's why they're 2-0, Yeah. They're not going to give, like Whitehead, man. The guy had 3 picks.
It was pretty impressive.
It should be the MVP of the game. No one even, everyone forgot to talk about him.
That's right. That was well said.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about your team.
All right.
Let's talk about the Raiders. Russell Wilson versus Jimmy Garoppolo. What were your thoughts going into the game? And obviously, you're happy about the outcome. But what were some things that you saw?
Yeah, so I was nervous, of course. Chandler Jones not there. He's got some personal issues going on. I'm not sure how this defense was going to react to Sean Payton's offense. I was concerned about, Russell Wilson and the bounce back and all the stuff that worries you. And I wasn't and Jimmy G didn't know what we're getting. I knew Josh Jacobs was going to be a little rusty because he missed all the preseason and all that. But that was expected. But Jimmy G was a real good game manager like he is. Jacoby Myers as the second receiver who knows Josh McDaniels' offense from him being in New England and running that offense. And, of course, Garoppolo, knew that offense for a long time. And he did all the dirty things, right? Like all those crossing patterns and left Devontae Adams, do his thing. Defense played much better than I expected. You're in Denver. You're on the road, and it's tough to play in Denver.
Sure is.
No matter how good they are or how bad they are, it's a division game and all that stuff. And when it counted the most, like I always say, Garoppolo made the plays, ran the clock out, and we won the game. That's what it comes down to. It was
because it was a pretty evenly matched game. But when you're on the road and could hold them to 16 points, that to me is a huge win. I mean,
and I think Russell was better Sunday than he was last year. I think he was.
They were really evenly matched with total yards.
I think he was better. I think Sean Payton's going to help them. I think they're going to be a tough out for everyone. But ultimately, what really worked out here, and I know it's very early in the season, but Kansas City lost to Detroit. The Chargers lost to Miami, and Denver. We got a game up. I know it's early, but I wouldn't.
Stack up those W's.
Get
over that 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The Chargers showed they still can't play defense, which was really nice. Miami went out there and scored on them at will. I think they're in trouble on the defensive side of the ball. Kansas City, until Kelsey is back in the mix, and one of their receivers besides him actually can hold on to a ball. You worry a little bit about Kansas City, but Kansas City also brought Chris Jones back in, so they're going to be. We know they're the elite team in the AFC. No matter what happened in Week 1, they're still the team that everybody wants to beat. But I think we're better than Denver, and we might be better than the Chargers here.
You're in sole first place right now, right?
Sole first place, 1-0. We lead. We're the number 1 seed team.
Take that picture. Take that picture right now.
The Jets and the Raiders are headed to the AFC Championship. So I think Jacobs is going to be better this week. I think Garoppolo is making some really good throws. Him and Adams, I think, are connecting a little bit. So I'm hoping to see that continue. And I just want to see the defense continue to be better. Just keep getting better. Max Crosby is just, superstar over there. The kid Wilson, all those little things that we need to happen, continue to happen. And 9 wins, 10 wins, maybe sneak in here now, right? That's what you start thinking about. If you get that 6 or 7, seed, the wild card, and that's it.
I'm also very curious. They're playing Buffalo this week.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Josh Allen had an extraordinary, terrible game.
Yeah.
4 interceptions, but aside from that, here he is running into Jets players, right? I mean, multiple times he could just slide.
Yeah.
Just basic fundamentals. I think he was a little off that game.
Yeah, and I saw McDermott yelling at him on the sideline, right? Like think,
Yeah.
He didn't slide on that one. He got the first down, and then he tried to run like the linebacker over. And again, he's a big guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a big guy. He can take hits. The problem is you worry about concussions in the NFL. It's still a big worry. You still, you saw what happened to Myers in the Raider game. He got knocked out on the field. That goes on more often than we realize. And your quarterback jumping in the air at 260-pound linebackers and big linemen running after you and getting hit left and right, you worry. And you don't even worry, concussion, sprained elbow. Remember last year he got hit, his elbow, he wasn't the same quarterback after that last year, and he's gotta stop with all these deep passes and double coverage and all that. Take care of the ball a little bit better. 3 interceptions was way too much. That fumble, at the
that was awful.
That was a bad fumble. Like you gotta protect the ball. That's really what it really comes down to. I think we're in for a tough one because of that loss. Flying into Buffalo,
not easy. Their fan base is going to be.
Yeah, it's always hard as a quote unquote West Coast team to fly east and play that game.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so, I think it's a pretty high spread. I didn't look at it. I think it was 10.
That's a lot.
I think somebody told me 10. It'll probably come down a little bit, but still, I mean. It's going to be a tough game. I don't have the full confidence that I would have, going into it. But all I can hope for is that Josh Allen that showed up in MetLife is the same Josh Allen that's going to be playing, this weekend and making mistakes and throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah, and like Vinny, like we discussed, week one, so much variance. How are these people going to really play?
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question for you.
Yeah.
Our other New York team.
Yeah.
Team of the Maz, the New York Giants.
Yeah.
With a pitiful performance.
The worst performance of any team this weekend, by far. Not even close.
Is it fluke, or do you think they have a lot of problems and they're that bad? Too early to tell.
So it's one game, right? They lost 40-0, which in today's NFL, losing 40-0 is like losing 8-0 in a soccer game, right? I mean, you cannot lose 40-0 in today's NFL. I'll tell you, I didn't like what they did after their first drive. I thought their first drive, they were running the ball. They got the ball to Barkley. They were doing all different things in their running game. They were protecting the ball. They just got away from that after that. I think after they blocked field goal touchdown and then the fumble / non-fumble interception, whatever you want to call that, that Barkley made the bad play on, and then the score, I think it was 16-0 at that point, or 17-0, whatever it was. It just felt like the game was over at that point.
Right.
The offensive line was horrific. I mean,
they got to him.
Dallas is good defensively. I don't know if they're that good, right? I think the Giants' offensive line was bad. I thought they did a decent enough job with Dak, but at the same time, Dak didn't have to do a lot, right? They just gave the ball to Tony Pollard and managed the game. Daniel Jones has to be much better than that. If that's going to be your quarterback that you gave $40 million to, and he's going to play like that, you got a lot of questions. I've heard people say, this is a Giants team that had a fluke season last year, and Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback, and they shouldn't have signed him. And again, it's week one, right? Like calm down. It's week one. But you do have concerns. Like 40-0 is a concern. It's a big concern. I want to see them, they're playing Arizona and Josh Dobbs, okay? Like, listen, they should win this game by default. You know what I mean? But I want to see them get Barkley the ball, give him a couple, one rushing touchdown, 100 yards rushing. I want to see Daniel Jones manage much better, make some throws to Waller, get some of these receivers involved. And I want to see the defense, make plays. They should go and win this game by 10 points, right? They should go win 20-10, 24-14, something like that, and win this game and then come back, be 1-1, refresh, fresh start. They should not be 0-2.
No, not against that team.
And that's when you start worrying, right? So I think we always talk about it, right? You look at your team in 4-game stints, right? Now I guess in the last quarter now you'll say it's 5 games since they have a 17-week schedule. But we used to look at it in 4-game stints, right? You have your first quarter, your second quarter, your third quarter, your fourth quarter, and every 4 games, right? 2-2, 2-2,
right.
Whatever you do. So, you're in your first quarter here. You don't want to be 0-4 to start the season, right? And the Giants don't want to be 0-4 to start the season. You look at that schedule, they could be 0-4 to start the season if they don't right the ship this week. They got to go in there, fix everything, coach much better. I think every aspect of the team last week was a disaster. Coaching, special teams, defense, offense. Yes, you could pick some players that had good games, but as a whole, that's like a giant F, right? They get like the biggest F out of anyone. Maybe the Bengals were right there, but that was just horrific, especially Sunday night, opening night, in your stadium. I get it, it's pouring rain, but the pouring rain should have helped them even more. But I don't know. It was bad. I don't know. What were your feelings?
I mean, what's there to say? You lost 40-0.
Yeah.
So nothing really went right.
Yeah.
As the old saying says, it can only go up from here. And but this is only week 1. So
You're right.
so now it's just like, okay, they're lucky. They're playing a weak Arizona team. They should go in and win. And as you said, if they lose this game, then we have to discuss more. There's more problems here, right? So until just like there's a lot of things to be determined. Cincinnati, yeah, they play like crap, but is that really the Cincinnati team? You can't go by 1 week. And that's why we'll have to see what happens week 2, week 3, and start seeing some trends, but too early to tell.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get it's week 2, but you're playing Arizona. And I'm going to say it again. You can't lose to this Arizona team in week 2. You just can't. If you do, it's going to how do they say? It's going to roll downhill real fast, right? I mean, it's getting ready to roll downhill real fast if they lose. So 0-2 to start the year, especially you lose already a division game, and then you lose to Arizona, where the other 3 teams in the division all won, right? And Philadelphia and Dallas are probably 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
And then you just feel like, wow, I really thought this Giants team was better than last year. When I looked at it, I thought they made some improvements on the offensive line, the defensive.
Right, you thought they were trending in the right direction.
Secondary, right. Yeah, I thought they improved in a couple of areas, and I don't know. I mean, I get it. You got a young center that made a bad snap there, that forced the field goal that ended up forcing the block. But again, I think he's a big improvement for them at the center position. That they made, the right moves on the defensive side of the ball. And I still think they have, right? I still think they got everything. It could just be a fluke game. I think there was a year New England went up to Buffalo early in the season, and I think lost like 30-something-0. And I think that was a year they won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
There you go. I mean, listen, Daboll's.
I'll have to look it up exactly, but yeah, I think there was a year, week 1, New England went to Buffalo and got shut.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'll look it up real quick here, but yeah, that's what you got to think about, right? So that's it. All right, so week 2's here. I mean, before we drop, real quick, Minnesota flying into Philly. Here's what you need to happen, right? You need Philly to crush Minnesota like 40-0. Kirk Cousins, they go, man, we're not going to win anymore with this guy. We're not going to be able to sign him after this year. Let's see if we can get some value for him. Jets, you got a 3rd-round pick. Go ahead. Here it is. Week 3, Kirk Cousins is your starting quarterback. Let's go.
I do love the Eagles in this game. I love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
They had such a bad game in New England.
Right.
And won,
and they're going to be home, and they're playing a Minnesota team that lost to Tampa Bay that did not look good at all, going into Philly.
And the weather should be much better than it was up in New England. I expect Jalen Hurts to be better. They have 6 guys on the defensive line that can hit the quarterback every time. I would expect whatever the over. I didn't look at it. Whatever the over is, I'm gonna put the over. I think Philly alone could score 35 points, and let's just say the over is 51.
I'm going to join you on that.
I would think you got like a 57 to 60 point kind of game here. It could be like 42, like 20. This kind of game. I would take the Eagles and the over, whatever the spread is, which is probably like 10 or 12, and the over.
Okay.
So it's probably less than that, but. That's it. All right. I know we're running short today, so I'm going to let you jet. we will we'll reconvene, talk about week 2 wrap-ups. We got some news. We're getting ready to move to a new network. Finally, we got a good email today that they 100%. They specifically wrote in 100% love us on board. So we're just going to work out the particulars, as they say. I tell you, when you do a podcast, you think you just come on and turn on a microphone and talk.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If people only knew all the background stuff that goes on, and my name is signed more than I think when before you buy like houses and cars and podcasts. I mean, Mike will tell you we sign more documents than you would expect. But we're getting ready to put that all together. New network. A much more global reach, right? We're really excited about that. We're going to bring the show globally, which is really exciting. We'll talk about all that when it happens. But Mike, anything else before we go?
Let's just let's give Zach Wilson a chance.
Yeah. How about the Yankees can win 20 in a row and get the wild card?
Let's not be too far-fetched.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you later.
See you, Vin.